Hello, this is Mad Cat, the angry egalitarian that discusses this and that. And today is another edition of Mad Cat Smash Feminism. Ah! What is this, 43? Yeah, it is. And remember, feminists, you can hide the facts all you want and use trick numbers, but we'll still find the truth. All right, so this is the first time that I'm coming in HD, sort of, and it's great to do this and to be able to connect with you. And I do have a special guest with me today. As the title says, I have Modern Medusa. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Now, unfortunately, you're not going to be seeing too much of me today as I'm going to be showing articles, but I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot of Modern Medusa, who, if I understand correctly, just got a new tattoo?
Yes, I did. Last night we finished at like 7.
And how long did it take you to get that?
Uh, well, not including everything that was already there, it was about 4 hours.
Yeah, it's 4 hours. It must look amazing. Do you care to show it?
Absolutely. Okay, let's see if I can get it in the picture. There we go.
Holy shit.
Michael Myers. And then that's the side of it. It's got his little house, little jack-o'-lantern right there. Pretty fucking sweet. I'm really happy with it.
Well, it's either Michael Myers or Darth Sidious, so I love the hood all around him. No,
me too.
Fantastic. So is that like there's a monster inside all of us, or are you like defeating the demon, or?
Well, I mean, that could be one interpretation. What the quote I actually wanted to get with it was a quote, well, originally from Shakespeare, which is, he's mad that trusts in the tameness of a wolf. You know, pretty much don't trust people who are known for negativity or whatever. But they weren't able to fit that quote in there. But what it pretty much represents is me getting over my fear of just pretty much everything, starting out with scary movies, because I used to be that kid that would not even be able to hear the sound effects from a scary movie, and I had to tell them to turn it off. And, you know, I was like, you know what, I'm too scared. I need to, you know, buck up. And pretty much when I first saw Rob Zombie's Halloween, I was scared, but after I watched it a few times, I just fell absolutely in love with it. And I'm hoping to meet Rob Zombie at this concert coming up. That would be awesome.
Well, you know, I saw the original Halloween, and what helped me through it was seeing Jamie Lee Curtis naked, so.
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's go
I
ahead.
prefer Scout Taylor Compton, personally.
Let's go ahead and get started. Hey, no bashing Jamie Lee Curtis when she was hot. All right, let's go ahead and get this show started today. Got quite a few things to get angry about, and we'll start off with Mother's Day, which is still like, what, a few weeks away?
Yeah, I think it's like on the 8th or something.
So let's check comments just real quick. Nothing there. All right. So 13 ways to have a feminist Mother's Day. It's not enough to have a Mother's Day where we're celebrating women. We have to make sure it has a political purpose. So, you know, basically this article starts off talking about how, you know, Mother's Day wasn't a holiday until like the 1900s when it was proposed to Congress and they passed it, and how there are great women in history that are not properly celebrated, and what are the best ways to honor your mother for Mother's Day in the most feminist way possible. So let's start off with number one. avoid chocolate and flowers. Well, I kind of agree with this, but not for feminist Mother Days, just for Mother's Day. You know, you get chocolate and flowers for like a whore in 1950s. I mean, you don't even do that shit today.
Would you mind staying on that picture for a second? Just look at her face when she gets the flowers. You can literally almost hear her going, "Oh, honey," and like it's making it seem like she's just gonna throw the flowers out the window, like, "You fucking sexist patriarchal piece of shit."
I'm sorry, Mom. Don't hurt me. So basically, this is a tradition in benevolent sexism. Try not to think your mom. Try to think your mom as a person, not a stereotype, and buy her gift with a little more meaning. And yeah, I agree with that. You should be. I keep looking at my camera, even though you can't see me right now. You should be honoring your mother the best way possible, not the cheapest and lamest way possible. So, you know, maybe this is one thing me and feminists can agree on. Buy a gift that promotes equality. Because nothing says
Obviously,
equality like
tampons.
Pikachu. Pika!
Yeah.
Pika! Cunts. So basically, the suggestion is that anything you buy your mother, make sure it represents something that represents feminism. Not your mother, but feminism. So, you know, buy her a
That's
gift
what your mom
that
likes.
supports venues for women or aid a charity or something. So, like, go to a homeless shelter and support women or give money to somewhere else. And it's like, how does that honor your mother? I mean, maybe if
I
it's
think it might be saying.
does, but
I think
go
it
ahead.
might be saying buy something that has partial uh, profit towards charity, but also like what can you buy that really actually helps people or women for that matter?
Well, like all homeless people, socks and underwear.
True. That's what I'm getting my mom.
Hi, Mom. I bought sexually lingerie. Let's go to the homeless shelter and give it out. Take your mom out for brunch. So, NPR report notes that being able to dine alone was an early victory for the women's rights movement. It took a lot of work by suffragettes to finally make it legal for women to eat where they like, with who they like. I actually want to know if that's true or not, because I've not heard that before. I mean, it sounds like it could be true, but if anyone's watching this, if they could confirm whether that's true, I just don't really have time to really look that up. But I mean, if it is, then good on suffragettes for getting that privilege of being able to eat alone. But because women have won this privilege, the best way to honor your mother on Mother Day is to go out to brunch. You know, beyond the usual reasons of wanting to spend time with someone and eating good food.
Exactly.
I always raise a glass to these feminist pioneers who fought for me and my mom to have these freedoms. And how do you
It's
celebrate those
hilarious.
freedoms?
It's hilarious they refer to them as pioneers.
Wrap your gifts in yellow ribbon. Well,
I
how do
can
you
just imagine like a girl.
money somewhere else?
Imagine a girl going up to her mom and like just tons of yellow ribbons. And she's like, "Here, mom." And then the mom doesn't fucking get it. And she's just like, "I put yellow ribbons on it and you're not acknowledging that the suffragettes did everything for us? Hail fucking feminism." Like, why are you not turning full fucking feminazi right now?
Well, according to the National Women's History Museum, early suffragette supporters used gold pins, ribbons, sashes, and yellow roses to show support for female empowerment. So when you give your mother a gift on Mother's Day to show feminist loyalty, I guess, is to use yellow ribbons to show support for feminists. So being a feminist by itself is not enough. You have to make everything feminist, including your gifts.
Yep.
Sounds like a good way to lay in the guilt trip, as you demonstrated.
Exactly. Like, imagine, like, oh, I was expecting something kind of, you know, not depressing.
Okay.
Speaking of depressing, let's talk about feminism.
Yeah. That sounds so simple, but it's easy to fall into conversational routines with parents. Mothers have experienced so many advances in women's rights and offer a unique perspective to the ongoing conversation. Feminism is about giving all women a voice, and I'd like to honor that idea by asking the lady who changed my diapers what she thinks. Well, what if she doesn't want to talk about feminism? What if she doesn't want to talk about her life at all? How do you still talk about feminism then while still giving her a voice to not want to talk about that?
You know what's funny is that I kind of feel like I did this with my mom, except about criticizing feminism, because, you know, it wasn't something that came up very often, except when I was like laughing or getting angry at something on the internet, and she'd be like, "What's going on?" I was like, "These fucking feminists are just so stupid." And she was like, "You know, you're right." Like, my mom actually agrees with me, and we had, you know, multiple conversations, very intelligent conversations about how it's very corrupt and how women are actually pretty equal, which is very strange considering that she instilled the ideas about femininity and virginity and all that stuff in my mind when I was younger. But you know, it's actually nice to talk to her about stuff that is problematic.
Okay, next is honor women in history. So I'm not really sure what I'm looking at here. I mean, she's like throwing a dart and somehow it's interacting with her mirror image, and
Why is she naked?
either this is like a naked little girl or an older woman with a very flat chest. I'm going to go for the latter just so I don't feel like a creep.
Yeah.
Until recently, history was written by men, about men, for men. Women were so often excluded when the progress of the world was reported. Oh my fucking God, this is such bullshit. If you know, history was written by men, which it was, I will give you that, and it was written about men, but it was also written about women. But if what you're saying is true, then how did we ever learn about Cleopatra, Nefertiti, Queen Elizabeth, Joan of Arc, or any other, you know, prominent woman in history if history was written by men, about men, for men? Yeah. And, you know, this is saying, well, feminists have changed that, and now we talk about it, and it's like, they'll probably try to say, well, the only reason why you know about it now is because feminism. Is like, bull fucking shit. No. The only reason why we know about this now is because people wrote about these women. Mary Curie, you know, Harriet Tubman. These were all great women of history that was written by men. Sorry.
What's funny, though, is that it says women are often excluded when the progress of the world is reported. No offense, you know, not trying to be sexist, but I'm guessing that most of what women were writing was either not necessarily misinformed, but skewed, considering how many feminists write skewed information today. What do you think?
I don't really know because we don't have a whole lot of stuff by women
Yeah.
throughout history, so it's really hard to discern that. Plus, most of the stuff that we do end up finding, we don't necessarily know that it was a man who wrote that either. We just presume it was a man, since most often men were the ones who were taught how to read and write.
Yeah.
But even if we say it was, just because we can't find anything that was written by a woman doesn't mean that a woman didn't try to write some sort of history.
Yeah.
But I can't really make that determination if
I was just making a suggestion.
Was biased. I would imagine it was, but I don't know. I can't really make that determination.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I was just guessing.
School your own kids on feminism. And then we have to see Lacey Green. Ugh.
I love that they used Lacey Green.
Hold on, I need to look at a hot chick. Say something. There you go, looking at a hot chick.
Oh, me? Oh, fuck you.
Nah, I was scared for a moment there. Okay. So she's talking about discussing feminism with her own kids on Mother's Day. But I think she kind of misses the point of Mother's Day, is that it's not a time for you to indoctrinate your kids. It's a time for your kids to celebrate you, which means you generally do what your kids want for that day in their attempt to celebrate you, not you to reverse it into a lecture about how great feminism is. That's every other day of the year, especially Father's Day.
Oh, yeah.
So, but then she's like, I make sure I spend time praising my girl for the beautiful handmade card first, though. And it's like, okay, that's nice, but, you're focusing more on giving her a discourse about what it is to be a female. It's not even about being a female on Mother's Day. It's about being a mother and raising children. What about your sons? Yeah. Are you going to discuss with them how important it is to be a girl? Well, our next article, maybe, but...
Yeah.
Acknowledge the maternal figures in your life. Isn't that the point of Mother's Day?
Yeah.
Isn't that the...
I send a card to my mom and my grandma every Mother's Day.
I mean, that's like even the entire purpose of Mother's Day. It has to be about the person who gave birth to you. Then that kind of contradicts your last statement about making it a day to discuss feminism with your children if you don't give them the opportunity to make it about you.
Yeah.
Volunteer to help mothers in need. Now, I really don't understand this picture. I mean, just look at it for a moment.
That's what you're supposed to do to all the mothers in the world. Break into their house and hug them because they're all pigs.
Yeah, I mean, are you saying that all mothers are pigs? I mean, what's the message here? And isn't this like the one thing that feminism doesn't want is men, breaking in? Isn't that like toxic masculinity? Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
You're seeing all the mother pigs from toxic masculinity. Oh, it makes so much sense now. So anyways, volunteer to help mothers in needs. This is about, going out to shelters or refugees and helping them in some way. Which, I mean, that's good to do any day of the year, but, you don't necessarily need to make it, on Mother's Day. Unless this is something your mother wants to do, it seems like a good way of looking people into it. It's like, well, there are a lot of mothers out there that don't have gifts and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, then tomorrow we can do something, but this is the day to honor your parent, not to honor someone else's parent. That might sound crass of me, but I mean, I think you're just using the holidays as an excuse to guilt people into doing something you want them to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the mother's job for, you know, getting that special necklace from their husbands. Like, you know, it's Mother's Day and I raised your children.
Yeah.
Give thanks to the goddess.
Oh my god. I forgot about this.
You know,
You know
if
what? That
you're
is
on a
fat
show
shaming.
like Venus, can you show her naked?
I personally feel very objectified. Where are her feet, though?
She has no feet. It's a clamshell.
She is a clamshell at the feet.
Yes, this clam, its penis is a naked woman. A hot,
Oh
sexy
my god.
naked woman.
I'd do it.
Tap that. So they're going on how the earliest Mother Day celebration was a festival dedicated to the Mother Goddess. And I'm like, no, that's not Mother's Day. That's celebrating your God Day.
It sounds like they're. I mean, it kind of sounds like they're making the comparison with, you know, how Christmas used to be a pagan holiday and all that, and it's like, well, okay, you don't necessarily have to be pagan. You don't have to be. You don't have to worship goddesses to celebrate Mother's Day, especially if you're not religious or, you know, weird.
I like this line. Connecting to the more spiritual side of celebrating motherhood is not only appealing, but empowering. And it's like you're trying to add complexity to Mother's Day when it's really simple. You're celebrating your mother.
This sounds like a kid trying to write like an inspiring essay. It's not only appealing, but empowering, trying to pursue you to be like, it's appealing. You're appealed, right? Is this appealing to you?
Oh, you're not appealed? Misogyny. Yeah. Promote peace. You know, once again, donating to Amnesty International, who has recently said that prostitution should be legalized. And I'm in full support of that.
Me too.
Or do-it-yourself pamper session. So donate to Amnesty International, do-it-yourself pamper session instead of taking your mom out to an overpriced spa.
I mean, that's not a bad thing, but still.
Yeah, my hands are shaky. You know, if I try to give my mom a spa, she'll look like the Joker.
End up having like a slip disc in her back when you try to give her a massage.
Actually, I'm good with massages.
Oh,
Let mom do what
excuse
makes
me.
her happy. So this one point kind of destroys the rest of these points.
Yeah.
Do what makes her happy. So if mom would prefer the chocolate flowers than day at the spa, it's perfectly okay to give her what she wants. Well, how about, you know, you give her what she wants and ignore everything else? Why
Yeah.
so political?
Unless what she wants is like extremely difficult to achieve. Like, honey, can you take me on a cruise?
Yeah. Am I the only one not turned on by this picture?
Those are some sexy high-waisted booties.
And, you know, Maya Rudolph is fucking hot, but not in that outfit.
Is that?
Well, that's Maya Rudolph, Rachel Dratch, and God, I forget her name. The one on the end. I don't know who the third one is.
Uh-huh.
I
think
guess
I
they
recognize them
Saturday
now.
Night Live, so because all three of them have been on Saturday Night Live together. So,
Nice.
well, I think the last
Oh my
one.
gosh. I'm sorry, this person keeps on calling me. They've called me 3 times already. I need to turn my phone off or something.
Yes, that would be nice.
All right, there we go.
And understand that it's a hard day for some. So I love this. I'm going to read this whole thing because it's just so nice. Feminism is about supporting your fellow sisters. No, it's not. And that means acknowledging that they can be sad, that the day can be sad for some. Bereavement, toxic family relationships, infertility, all of these can make the rosy depictions of a mother-child bond incredibly triggering. I know that some of my friends will go underground for the day and will appreciate a call or a visit that excludes all mentions of the celebration. You know, this is the same kind of logic that's used on Father's Day of, you know, on the day that you're supposed to be honoring your fathers, be sure to honor your mother. It's like,
yeah.
as a day. And
what about the fathers on Mother's Day?
yeah, exactly. What about Mr. Moms, you know?
The thing is, like, how are they going to know who has, like, you know, a weird thing about Mother's Day where they don't want to hear about it? How are they going to balance that with their, you know, their need to spread feminism? Like, are they just going to talk, all, you know, just have to hold back everything and be like, I hope you have a good day. I won't talk about women, but
well, I want to talk about feminism for no reason at all. So you mean like every day? All right. So
I feel bad for mothers.
Yeah, this is just bullshit article trying to spread a political ideology before the actual day comes here. So they're starting like a month early. And I mean, that in itself is not bad, but I really love that how number 12 let her do what she wants, just kind of like trumps everything else. I mean, how about you focus on doing what she wants to do in a way of honoring her? But at the same time, mothers need to find ways to embrace what their children are wanting to do also to honor them. So going out to a spa or, you know, making them a gift from the heart, those are all really fantastic. But you don't need to cram feminism in that day just because you have a vagina.
Yeah. I mean, last year I gave my mom a pillow that had like all her kids on it, and she fucking loved it, and we didn't speak a single moment about feminism, and it was done.
So let's go ahead and move on to our next article today, which is also talking about mothers. If I want my son to respect women, I need to teach him how to embrace the girlish. Oh, I'm getting angry. The other day, I was sitting in the park with James, 3 years old, when I picked up a dandelion and handed it to him as a present. No way, Mommy, he said, pushing away my gift. Flowers are pretties and I'm a boy. And I thought, that's it. I'm signing up for ballet. Just for that? Until recently, I've been quite happy.
You know, I've
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I've heard girls say flowers and pink and all that at that age. Like, it's just a common thing to dislike things that are pushed upon you sometimes as a child.
Yeah. It's often a way to show defiance. And children love to show defiance, especially boys. But, you know, but what you just said is actually funny when we read this further. Until recently, I've been quite happy to be surrounded by boys in all of their stereotypical boyishness. Well, maybe you shouldn't be looking at it as being stereotypical. They are your sons, after all. So she's basically saying she's not into this whole princess thing, and if she had a girl, she would really hate if her girl got into the whole princessy things. And then she's talking about her children, how her oldest boy is able to burp up to the letter K in the alphabet. And, you know, if she was a true mother, she would be trying to encourage him to get all the way up to Z.
Yeah, exactly.
And she goes on to say, by the way, I've stopped using red because red doesn't translate too well on Google Hangouts. So green is my new color for bad and what the fuck. So sure, they'll destroy the furniture building forts, but at least they won't fill your house with plastic engagement rings and insist on wearing hideous, flammable, polyblend palm dresses for 5 years straight.
At least they won't do that. Destroying your house is much better.
Boys loathe that stuff, and as a feminist mom, so do I. So we're on the same page then, right? Wrong.
What?
So she doesn't like it, and her boys don't like it, and yet somehow that's not good enough. No.
Nope.
As James gets older and begins to discover himself, oh, that doesn't happen till puberty, honey. I realize that being guided just as much by what he immediately rejects as what he genuinely loves: zombies, magic, ice cream, dogs, and dancing. Some of the things he now pushes away, he truly seems to dislike: yogurt, itchy sweaters, going to bed. But other things he's starting to turn on for reasons of obvious cultural conditioning. He's 3 years old. He hasn't had much cultural conditioning. The most conditioning he's had is from you and your family. James isn't entirely sure who he is yet, but he definitely knows what he's not, and that's a baby and a girl. Lately, anything that falls into either of those two categories is verboten to him. When his older brother complained about having to watch Frozen because it was girlish, James instantly struck it off his list of favorite movies and now refuses to play Elsa and Anna even when his best nursery school girlfriend insists. Yeah, you think it's cute now that he has a girlfriend. Wait till he gets older. You'll be so upset by it. But, you know, that does happen, that a little brother looks up to their bigger brother and tries to emulate them. That's actually a natural thing that happens.
Yeah, exactly.
And
my little sister wanted to be like me.
You might think that it's no big deal. Yeah, I am thinking that my son is just behaving naturally. Yep. But I'm automatically weary of the notion of biological determinism. This isn't biological determinism. This is just him emulating the people around him. Children do that. They emulate. Mm-hmm. They look up to their big brother or their big sister and they emulate that behavior.
I don't know if she went to college, but it looks like she took too much gender studies and not enough child psychology.
Well, it also looks like she whipped out her thesaurus and tried to use big words any chance she could. Verboten? Who fucking uses that word? When he hands me back a flower because pretty things are for girls, I think, what's next? Kindness, decency, dancing? Oh, fuck you, you stupid whore. Really? You think that all men everywhere that was not raised by a feminist mother lacks kindness, decency, and dancing? Well, there's only one solution for this.
No. Nice. Yes, dancing man.
I'm a very kind and decent person, and I love to dance. Okay, I'll stop now. Nice. But such bullshit that this is the line of thinking you have, that just because your 3-year-old son, 3 years old, you have stated that he has not identified himself yet, which is obvious by the fact that he is emulating his older brother because he hasn't developed a personality for himself yet. But you're like, oh, well, he's rejecting this. What's next? Is he going to start raping girls? Because that's the line of thinking you have.
Yeah, I don't understand how she's relating an object like a flower to I like stuff like kindness and decency, like as if men weren't born with empathy in their brains or something.
Well, that's what she's thinking. She's thinking that men
Yeah.
don't have this because they weren't raised by a feminist mother. And that if he's rejecting things simply because it's for girls, then he's going to reject everything else that girls are. And I hate to tell you, but there are some cold bitches out there that lack that lack decency. I don't know if they lack the dance, though.
There are a lot of girls that lack the dance.
But, I mean, yeah, I mean, how do you account for them? Are you saying that they were raised by misogynistic fathers who said, oh, you're not allowed to be kind and decent to anyone. You have to hate flowers.
Yeah.
So
fuck flowers. Fuck puppies, babies. Fuck everyone.
So she then goes and talks about this woman, Jeremy Fine, who's done a lot in the defense of being a princess in the modern era. And she's just goes on talking and talking about this, which really has nothing to do with this. But she makes kind of a reference in this paragraph. But as I watch my son reject flowers and dolls and even pink popsicles, yeah, put him in ballet would be nice. All things that until very recently he adored on the grounds that they are girlish, I have come to see Fine's point. There is something inherently sexist, even covertly misogynistic, in the way we discourage boys away from pretty things while telling girls they can have it all. No. Just because a boy doesn't like, pink things. If, I used to like pink growing up. Now my favorite color is that one, teal, dark teal. I really love that color. And black. But, they go through phases. You don't know it, but your son could end up being gay and such the flower girl by the time he's 18 if you leave him to his own devices, if you let him grow up the way he wants to do it. And you just be the mother to help him with all of his scrapes and boo-boos. But you're not interested in seeing what the end result is. You want to try to curtail that here and now.
Yeah.
So she goes on to, Fine is the author, encouraging boys to reject princess culture is dangerous because what other traditional feminine concepts are they going to reject later? Will they see romantic love as abhorrent? What about parenting and housework, or even just being polite? Oh, fucking bullshit. That is such fucking bullshit. You know what? I didn't like princess culture. Who wants to be a princess? I'd rather be a queen, in all honesty, if I was going to choose a position. But,
And as if men aren't polite to each other, ever.
I mean, am I polite to you?
No, you're a fucking asshole. You don't do any housework, like, fuck you. But yes, you are very, very polite.
I mean, oh my God, rejecting the flower means that he won't be a polite person. And it's like, oh my God, you're just really reaching. You don't see your own problem here. You expect your child to act as much like a girl, even though if you had a girl, you would hate that she was being overly feminine. You've admitted you hate that, and yet you're angry that your child is not acting more feminine. Much as I like to...
What would she... Well, what would she do to the girl? Would she try to enforce male characteristics upon her? Like, if she thinks that being a princess is so bad.
Well, I'm sure she would be like, well, my 3-year-old daughter really likes flowers. That's it. She's playing football.
Yeah. I
Much
don't
as
care if you don't have the muscles. You're getting in there at 3 years old.
Well, apparently there's a football league that just came to my attention where women play in skimpy outfits and it's full tackle. And as bad of an idea that is, because that's likely to result in some injuries, I have to find this because that sounds like sexy as hell. Because they're not wearing any pads or anything, from what I understand.
Smart.
As
Just have the
much
cheerleaders go up there.
Much as I dislike the idea of anything being categorized as inherently feminine or masculine, it's hard to explain post-structural gender theory to a 3-year-old. For James, the world is pretty much binary at the moment. No, it's not. And trying to shift that perspective, little by little, has become my pet project. So you're transforming your son into what you want, not what they want. Oh, good job on that one. It's also a window on what a strange place the world must be for a transgender or a gender nonconforming kid. Yeah, I have a feeling that you're not going to be happy unless your son is gay.
Yeah, or a girl.
If I want my son to love and respect women, I'm going to have to teach him to embrace and ideally appreciate girlish things. That's why I'm weaving him a dandelion crown and signing him for ballet. I'm going to turn the little alphabet betcher into a proud princess, whether he likes it or not. Oh, you stupid, stupid whore. Do you have any idea of the kind of damage you're going to do? Now, if he wanted to do ballet, if he said, Mommy, I want to do ballet, go for it. Put him in there. But you're forcing him into something just because you're afraid that he might turn into a monster, all because he says to his mommy he doesn't like the color pink, he doesn't like the movie Frozen anymore, and he hands you back a flower for being girly. He's a fucking boy. This is what boys do. You know what? I didn't like flowers growing up, and guess what? I like flowers now. I love plants. I love having herbal gardens because I like to cook a lot. But you know what? Just because a 3-year-old says something now doesn't mean 15 years later they'll be the exact same. They're going to grow. They're going to develop. And you need to let them do that. And you can still, give them the feminist rhetoric all you want, but you need to give them the chance to grow up. And you're not giving them that chance. You're not giving them agency. You're not giving them that chance to become a realized person. They're only going to be a puppet of what you want. And sooner or later, they're going to reject it. And more than likely, because now you're going to surround him in a pink room full of girls who are doing something that he doesn't want to do, he's going to resent it. He could even grow to hate women, and he's definitely going to hate you for making him do that. So I hope you're very happy that you're going to turn him in the thing that you're trying not to turn him into. All because of your own insecurities as a feminist.
Yeah, I really like how she says whether he likes it or not, as if, even if, he goes into the ballet positive and he hates it, he still has to do it whether he likes it or not. And, when I was a kid, I had my mom sign me up for like 5 different dance classes. I hated ballet. I hated tap dancing. I hated jazz. I hated hip hop. I hated everything. But I tried it, but I hated it. And she let me, get out. And then I found soccer and I loved that for a little while. And then I hated it. But, it's just phases you go through. And especially if you're like, there are boys' dance groups, I'm pretty sure, or tumbling or something like that he could benefit from. That doesn't have to be tutus and ballet shoes. Like, you had to pick the girliest dance. Like, I don't know. It's whether he likes it or not, you're gonna fucking be a girl.
Yeah, and that's what she wants. She wants a girl. She's happy she doesn't have a girl. She's happy that she doesn't have to deal with the princess culture, but she would rather have the princess culture than to give the opportunity for a son to grow up,
Yeah.
to be a son. You know, he may come to embrace these things on his own. I mean, one of the things that my parents tried to do is try to get me to watch football when I was growing up. I fucking hated it because for two reasons. One, my parents were pushing it on me. They're like, well, all the boys at school will talk about this and you want to fit in, don't you? None of the boys ever talked about it. But, you know, the second reason is because my parents didn't allow me to approach it in my way. My way is learning about everything about the sport. Their way was, well, if you watch it, you'll learn. And that's not how I learn. I don't learn by watching. I learn by understanding everything about it. So when I do watch it, I can properly appreciate what I'm watching. But since they didn't allow me to embrace it the way I wanted to, I grew to hate it until I got older. And then I liked football because then I could approach it the way I wanted to. And I actually love football. I wish I watched it more. I just don't have time. But, you know, I fucking love football. And, you know, you've got to give children the opportunity to approach things the way they want to approach them, so they can fully appreciate. If they want to learn by watching, go for it. If they want to learn by doing, go for it. If they want to learn by reading a book, go for it. But let them choose the best way for themselves to do something, to in a way to fit into the world, and stop pushing children in the way that you want them to be just because of your own insecurity.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting is that my little brother, he's only like 11 years old, and he pretty much always went towards the trucks and all that. He loves model cars and airplanes, and he wants to be a cop or whatever. But you know, he enjoyed playing with dolls. You know, if you know, he had action figures, and me and my sister had dolls, and we would play together. And he really loved doll houses. And my grandma, she makes very intricate, beautiful. She builds them herself, doll houses, and he found them fascinating just because he likes all the little tiny accessories and all that, just because it's cool looking, you know. And I loved it too. And that, you know, we didn't see it as like oh, you're girly. And you know, my mom, she might have said something like, oh, well, he thinks it's a little girly, but he doesn't care, because he was able to look at it for himself and see it and be like, that's cool, you know. That's pretty much, you know, how you get introduced to anything. Unless, of course, your mom is crazy and forces you into ballet.
All right, so it's a hand egg. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Seda Christ, but sure, why not?
Oh, this? Maybe he was talking about the snake.
Oh, okay. All right, so let's look at our last article for today, which is a bit on the depressing side. U.S. suicide rates up, especially among women, but down for black males. Now, this article kind of pisses me off a little bit because it's kind of focusing on the wrong thing. It does have an introduction video, which I thought was in poor taste, because they start showing clips of Robin Williams, and it's like, guess what? Robin Williams is now a statistic. And it's like, dude, no.
Wow.
You don't say a person's part of a statistic, especially when they commit suicide, but especially a great man like that. That's just undermining how tragic it is that they're dead. That's like, damn, CNN, you're just wanting like, hey, guess what? We got Robin Williams here. Oh, and he committed suicide. And it's like, oh, God, you should be bitch slapped.
Yeah.
Okay, so I apologize for how depressing this is, but, you know, suicide is an important issue for me. So The number of suicides in the United States has been on the rise since 1999, and everyone between the ages of 10 and 74, according to a new report by the CDC. Researchers at the
Who
CDC.
the fuck?
What?
Who is killing themselves at 10 years old? Jesus Christ.
Well, you'd be quite amazed. We'll look at the statistics in just a moment. So, the CDC looked at the data of the cause of death for Americans 10 and older from 1999 to 2014. They also included information on age and race from death certificates. In 2013, 13 people died out of every 100,000 people, compared to the 10.5 in 1999. So we went from 10.5 per 100,000 to 13, which doesn't seem that big of a jump, but when you consider how many people they were measuring, that is quite the huge jump. The suicide rate increased every year from 1999 to 2014 among both women and men in every age group except for those 75 and older. Now, Sally Curtin has stated such an increase in suicide could also make prevention efforts more difficult. If it were just one group of people, you could say, this is where we need to focus. But honestly, I think maybe you should be doing that anyways, as the numbers will show us in just a moment. The number of suicides increased among all racial groups except for Black males, which saw an 8% decline in suicide rates from 10.5 to 9.7 per 100,000. The largest increase were among American Indians and Alaskan Natives. In this group, the suicide rate climbed 89% among women and 38% among men. Suicide rates among white women and white men increased 60% and 28% respectively. Now, this is misleading. While there was such an increase, and that is actually true, it kind of makes it sound like, well, there's a bigger problem for white women than there are for white men. There's a bigger problem for American Indians and Alaskan Natives than there are for white people. And while there has been a large percentage increase for all of these mentioned, we also kind of have to look at the numbers. So I'm going to take a moment and kind of walk you through some of the numbers. So this is what the CDC is basing all of this information on. So we'll ignore these charts for right now. Let's go ahead and look at all races, and we're divided among men and women, 1999, 2014. Okay, and then the percentage change that we see. Now, for all ages, women, all races and all ages, women were committing suicide at a rate of 4.0 and increased to 5.8, which is a 45% increase. Men, however, were committing suicide at 17.8, which is 4 times more than women in 1999, and increased to 20.7, which is about still 4 times as many women, even though that was only a 16% increase. So yeah, it was a big jump for women. They went from 5,000 to 9,000, but men went from 23,000 to 33,000. So yeah, if we look at only the percentages, yeah, that's a big, issue there. But you got to look at the actual numbers to really fully comprehend the issue of suicide. Mm-hmm. And then, you were talking about children 10 to 14. In 1999, it was only 50 children between the ages of 10 to 4, female children, and that increased to 150. And as tragic as that is, I'm glad that number is so low. But, for males in 1999, 192 and increased to 275. That's 200% for girls, but only 37% for boys. And yet we still have so many more boys at that age committing suicide.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go ahead and show you some of these other numbers while we're here, because I want to show you something that's a little shocking. And why I also feel like this article is focusing on the wrong thing. Okay, so we'll first look at white people. And, as they said, 60%, 28%. But all ages, women went from a rate of 4.7 to 7.5, or about 5,000 to 8,000. Noticeable jump. Men went from 19,000 to 27,000. 27,000
Wow.
people committed suicide in 2014. Now it's 20.2 to 25.8, so it's only a 28% increase, but that's still a lot. So yeah, we can say, oh, women have increased by 60%. There's a problem and we need to address it. While you're saying, oh, well, men only increased by 28%. That's not really a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the biggest number was men between 45 to 64. Now, the article does touch on this just a little bit, but again, not enough focus on that. But 10,000 men. And in 1999, it was about 25 to 44. And 15 years later, it goes up to the next age bracket. So whatever problems that were happening in 1999 continued on with this group as they got older.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, some reason someone enters the age of 25, they start having problems and have difficulty, and that just seems to continue on for 35 years. Or 40 years, rather. So now it talked about blacks, and we're starting to see some negative values for black males, which is good. I'm happy to see anyone not committing suicide, but that's also going to kind of play with the overall averages up here as well. But it's good that the black community is not committing suicide, but you'll see by these numbers, whites are committing suicide at a drastic rate compared to blacks. It also talks about Asian and Pacific Islanders as well. It talked about American Indians and Alaskan Natives at a 27.4 per 100,000, and there's not that many of these. That's why this number is so much higher than white men, but it's still only 348. I hate using the term still only because it's still tragic, don't get me wrong, but in comparison, white men, there's still such a big problem there. Now, the thing that I want to show you, and this is also the numbers for Hispanic as well, you take all of these numbers here, this 25 here, 600 here. So for all races and for white women, if you added them all up together, white men nearly doubles that number. Everyone else comes to 15,220 compared to this 27,000. White men are committing suicide at such a higher rate than everyone else. In fact, if you took men from 45 to 74, they still beat that number by 100.
Wow.
It comes out to about 15,100 something.
It's interesting that compared whites to blacks, considering we usually think Black people are more incarcerated, there's more crime, you know. I don't know, I guess most of it would be homicides instead of suicides. Because, you know, usually think in like the poor areas that have a lot of, you know, African Americans, usually hear about them just, you know, being very underprivileged.
Yeah. But apparently their tough life is not enough for them to commit suicide, which is good.
Yeah.
But there's something going on with white men, and of course they're being ignored in this equation because everyone is so focused on minorities and on women. So when it comes to white men, it's like, oh, well, what do they have to be depressed about? Oh, well, you know, here's a male tears mug, you know, cry into it so I have something to drink. And I mean, God, this just really disheartens me so much. So let's go and continue reading this article here. Although it's difficult to know why suicide rates increase so much among American Indians and Alaskan Natives, they're typically in the lower socioeconomic status than some of the other ethnic and racial groups, and may have greater access to lethal means and be at a higher risk of substance use and alcohol use. Which might be true, but at the same time, you know, we're talking about a difference of 300 of Alaskan Native and American Indian, which isn't American Indian technically racist? Aren't they Native Americans? But
yes, I find that extremely problematic.
Aren't you Native American?
Yes, I am a member of the Potawatomi tribe.
But
and I don't know, it's weird when people say American Indian, because I mean, like, I get it, because, you know, we've been calling them Indians for so long, but it's like, I thought we got out past this when we realized that Columbus was wrong. But I don't care. People can say whatever they want.
But yeah, we're comparing a number of like 300 of these individuals compared to the 27,000. And your focus is on like, well, why has it increased so much for the Native Americans? And it's like, we should be focusing on everyone, don't get me wrong, as to, you know, why suicide is happening. But don't be shocked that they've increased, you know, from like what was it, 250? Yeah, 222 to 348. So you're comparing this 348 to this 27,000 and saying, why is it increasing so much? Why are so many white people committing suicide? Let's ask that question. I'm sorry if I sound insensitive, but 27,000 is very sizable. The suicide rate in 2014 marks a return to 1996 when the suicide rates were also 13 per 100,000. Although the rates fell between 1996 and 1999, it has been steadily increasing since. The pace of increases also picked up. Whereas the suicide rate climbed by 1% each year between 1999 to 2006, it has increased 2% each year between 2006 to 2014, which actually makes sense when you consider the market crash we had in 2008. I imagine a lot of people committed suicide during that time.
Yeah.
The reason for the increase in the suicide rate over the past 15 years are many and complex. Whereas there was a big push between the 1980s to the 1990s for healthcare providers to identify and treat depression or other mental health problems, some of this progress was undone in recent years because of concerns that antidepressants could increase suicide risk. These concerns were driven by controversy around the Food and Drug Administration decision to give these medications a black box warning about the suicide risk in children, she added. Yet another factor could have been the economic downturn. So then this part goes into the largest increase in middle-aged and young women. What's up?
Look at this. He's in my fucking belt loop. Continue.
Well, that's one way to have a snakeskin belt.
I guess he's kind of going to try to go all the way through. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was lost in thought. You said all the way through. I mean, the report found that men died by suicide more often than women. Well, good that you state that. In 2014, the rate was 20.7 compared to the 5.8 of women. However, there was a 45% increase in the suicide in women between the time, whereas the increase among men was 16%. And once again, see how they're using trickery of numbers. I mean, they acknowledge that men were much higher, but they're trying to say, oh, there's such an increase for women. And it's like, you know, take the number 60%. 60% sounds like a lot, but if the number started off low, like 10, then a 60% increase would be 16. So 10 to 16. Now, if you take something like 30% and you start with the high number, say 50, it then becomes 65. 50 to 65, that's a small jump, but it's still a pretty high number. So you can use percentages all you want, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a serious problem going on, especially from 10 to 16.
Yeah.
The increase in suicide death was greater in magnitude for women of all ages compared with men, with the exception of people 75 and older, whose suicide rates fell from 4.5 to 4. Among women ages 10 to 14, the suicide rate increased threefold from 0.5 to 1.5, although the rate was higher amongst men overall in this age group. It did not increase as much during this period, climbing from 1.9 to 2.6. This increase among young women could be misleading because the rate itself is I can't say that word right now, exceedingly low, and only a small number of suicide deaths would be enough to drive it up substantially. But we certainly have our eye on it. And that's a very important thing. And I'm betting any feminist that quotes this article and says, hey, look at this, is going to miss this one paragraph. Because the number started off low, any increase is going to look like it's a major increase. Middle-aged women, 45 to 64, had the highest suicide rate among women. The age group also had the largest increase of 63%, 6 to 9.8. The 45 to 64 age group also had the largest increase in suicide among men at 43%, 20.8 to 29.7. Men 75 and older had the highest overall suicide rate, even though it decreased from 42 to 38. The total number of suicide deaths was much greater in the middle-aged men than this older group because the population of middle-aged men is so much larger.
What?
Well, there are more middle-aged men than there are older men. So that's why.
Okay. I didn't understand what they were saying there.
This is why we're seeing like a higher percentage increase for 45 to 64. They have a 29.7. Even. Okay, I've lost myself in this. Anyways. Now, what is the methodology of suicide? They say that firearms were the most common method by which men took their own lives, although the proportion of all suicides in men that were firearm related decreased by 61 to 55%. Poison was the most common for women, although that only accounted from 34% of the suicides, down from 36. So it's good that these things are going down, but it looks like the thing that kind of replaced those numbers was suffocation, which increased from 16.3 to 26 among women and 19.1 to 26 for men. So more people are suffocating themselves than using poison or firearms, but firearms and poison is still high on the list.
I don't mean to joke about it, but when they said suffocation-related suicide, and before I saw the hanging thing, I immediately thought of someone just killing themselves by holding a pillow to their face. I wonder if that's ever happened.
Well, I'm sure it has, but that's probably not the most efficient means. Probably wrapping a plastic around your head.
Probably not.
Although, and I don't mean to joke, I'm wondering if they consider people who die from autoerotic asphyxiation as suicide.
Yeah.
I don't mean to joke about that, but I do kind of wonder, is that included?
Mm-hmm.
So, how to prevent...
Do you remember that?
What's up?
I was going to say, do you remember that movie with Robin Williams, World's Greatest Dad, and his kid died of that?
No.
It's a pretty good. Well, it's a good movie, but it's very, very dark, and he ends up like taking advantage of his son's suicide to write a book. It's really good though.
I'll have to check it out then. So the fact that suicide rates are increasing among all age groups means that prevention efforts have to be developed for many different settings. More research is needed to determine which factors are putting middle-aged men and women at greater risk, and which of those factors can be targeted by which groups, she added. So the solution right now to people committing suicide is to do more research. Oh, okay, well, while you do your research, more people will commit suicide.
Yeah.
The CDC is focusing on suicide prevention efforts, on finding strategies that can help prevent suicide among middle-aged men because the number of suicide deaths in that group is so high. They are a hard group to reach. They do not see healthcare providers as much as other age groups. Well, and let's talk about that for a moment. Why are so many men committing suicides compared to women? And more specifically, why are white men committing suicide more than women? It's because society, and more specifically women, demand that they give themselves to their family, that they have to have high-paying jobs. They have to work extra hard just to make a life for their family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and whether or not they actually get that family or not. But there's this drive that men have to have this. And if they don't, they're a failure in life. So either they're committing suicide because of the high stress that they have to put themselves into, or committing suicide because, you know, they can't get the attention of a woman. And this is really sad. And I think what we really need to start doing to help out is try telling men, don't define your life by women. Don't wait for their approval. Yeah. Getting married and, you know, having children is not the end all be all of your existence. You know, you need to find something in life that is for you and you alone. You know, like with my writing, with you, you know, doing art. You know, these are things
Mhm.
that are just for us and no one else. Yeah, we like to share them, but at the end of the day, my writing is for me. I'm not doing it in hopes that some girl will marry me one day, although I am hoping for blowjob. But,
Yeah, always.
you know, and that's what's actually helped me to not commit suicide. And I've been close many times because of my condition that, you know, pretty much anyone I knew before my condition stopped talking to me. I lost everything. And the only thing that ever actually helped me was my writing, that I could define
Mhm.
myself by it. I could share it with the world. And I can
Yeah.
tell you it does help. And we need to start showing men. I mean, I'm not saying that they need to become MGTOW, although it couldn't hurt, that they don't need women to define them to make them happy. Yeah, it's nice to have a girlfriend. It's nice to have a relationship. But we need to teach
Yeah.
men that it's okay not to have these things. And I think that's
Mhm.
one of the major drivers right there, is that men are defining themselves by whether or not a woman likes them and trying to keep that woman so she doesn't go off and bang some other dude. So we have to work really hard to keep her. If we take that out of the equation and say, men, focus on yourself, do what makes you happy, I think suicide amongst men, especially white men, would decrease. That's not
Mhm.
the only thing going on. I acknowledge that, but I do think it is a major driver of suicide for men.
Yeah. And one factor that could possibly be contributing to the sudden rise in older female suicides is because I mean a lot of women. I mean, it can work both ways. A lot of women go for the family because they think that'll make them happy, and then they don't enjoy it. But a lot of them also go for the single, free, uh, all about me thing, and then they grow up and realize that they really wanted to have kids. I think that could possibly contribute to that. Even though I'm sure there are many others.
Well, one that kind of jumps out at me, and if you watch Terrence Popp at all, he's kind of like done the um, lifetime of a woman thing. And one thing he talks about is like, you know, younger women want to date the exciting guy, you know, and, you know, he's so
Hmm.
dangerous and he's so cool. And, you know, they ignore the good, sensible guy in favor of this hot,
Yeah.
sexy guy. And then they get mistreated by it. But it takes them so long to realize that maybe they should have been with that really nice guy who would have given them something. And by that time, it's too late. And I think that
Yeah.
that's also a contributing
Absolutely.
factor for women, is that they realize they picked the wrong horse.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right. So she and her colleagues are testing strategies that combine improving mental health care and increasing screening for mental health problems with programs that promote social correctedness. That kind of sounds ominous. Social connectedness. I'm hoping it's as it sounds, but it kind of makes me worried since most of these they keep talking about women, and it's like, this is CNN. It's a feminist publication these days. They hope that the efforts by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention could be helping to lower suicide rates among people 75 and older. These efforts include educating primary care doctors, especially those specializing in the elderly, and identifying people at risk of suicide and working to enhance their connections in society and participation in activities. Which, yeah,
Well, that's
definitely.
good. I'm glad that they said people instead of women.
Yeah. And, you know, yes, we need to look at the whole suicide things as one big thing. Like, you know, on average, people are committing suicide more. But, you know, CNN being a feminist publication, of course, they're going to focus a little bit more on women. It's like, oh my God, it's a travesty. 60% increase among women committing suicide. But let's ignore that 27,000 white men have committed suicide in 2014. And, you know, I don't want to marginalize any other group. But like I said, we add up all of the other groups among race and age and, you know, gender, and white men outnumber all of them by double, by nearly double, 15,000 compared to the 27,000 white males. And we need to find something to deal with this problem, but let's put a little bit more focus on white men. But we live in a society today, especially with feminism, of wanting to be inclusive by ignoring white people. And that's basically what inclusive feminism is. And this is having an effect on all other aspects of society of, let's ignore white people because they don't have a culture, they're stealing from everyone else, and let's put more focus on these marginalized groups, and I put that in quotes. Here, I'll throw my back on the camera here. But marginalized groups. And everyone has difficulty in life. No one is unique in that. But, you know, looking at these numbers, it seems that, you know, a lot of other groups are not as depressed as white men are. Why are white men so much more likely to commit suicide than anyone else? Why is it such a higher rate? So, I mean, this is something that we really need to focus on. And, you know, I hate to divide it among race. I hate to divide it among gender, but numbers speak for themselves.
Exactly.
Oh, shoot. I hate when I do that. Sometimes I keep switching it between you and me, and I keep forgetting to turn that feature off. So, like I said, suicide is an important thing to me because I've been close to it many times. When I try to reach out for help, when I try to call a suicide prevention hotline, I got no help whatsoever. And all the
when I called a suicide hotline, they said you only have 25 minutes, and then they cut me off.
Wow. When I called them up, they're like, oh, what's your name? What's your phone number? Okay, we're going to have someone call you. And it's like, then they're like, is there anything else we can help you with? I'm like, this is a suicide prevention hotline, right? Like, yes. I'm like, nope, I'm good. Because, I mean, it's a prevention hotline, and all you've done is added to my desire to commit suicide.
Yeah, thanks for making my faith in humanity even less.
You know, and it's a very hard thing. And let me kind of shift this a little bit, that if you know someone who has talked about suicide, who wants to commit suicide, you know, a lot of people I know are like, well, you know, you need to call me the next time you feel that way. And then when I try to call them when I feel that way, all they can ever say is, wow, I don't know what to say. And it's like, then why am I calling you? You know, I called you because I feel this way. And I understand it's hard to talk to someone, especially someone like me, when I've had so much going on in my life, that I have a condition that's not getting better, and in some ways is getting worse. You know, I fear that I will never even have love again in my life. I mean, it's been 4 years since I've had sex, 4 years in June. And I don't know if I'll ever even have sex again, much less, you know, be in a relationship, have any resemblance of a normal life. And what do you say to someone like that when they call you up and it's like, you know, I just want to end it all? So I don't blame you for not knowing what to say to someone, but let me give you some advice on what of things that you can and don't say. One of the things that annoys me is, well, if you commit suicide, I'll be very sad. And, you know, that's all well and nice that someone's going to be sad if I commit suicide, but it's like, in a way, you're making it all about you and not about me. It's like, not to sound crass, but why do I care what's going to happen to you after I commit suicide? And what you need to do, what you need to say to someone is say, look, things are bad now, but you know what? I'm here to support you. You need to like find a reason to continue living. You need to find a way to do something. And they're going to be resistant or like, there's nothing I can do. You need to give them positive encouragement. You need to say, look, you know, you're very important in my life. I like having you around. You cheer me up, you know, you make me laugh, you know, you make other people laugh. You do this, you do that. Show them that they are still contributing to life, that they still have an importance to life. Because
even if it's not specifically their own life.
Right. I mean, and that's what people try to say. It's like, well, if you commit suicide, I'll be sad. You're trying to do that, but it's not enough. It actually doesn't help that much. Not as much as you think it does. It just sounds like, oh, okay, so, you know, that's it. That's all you can say to me is that you'll be sad. Convince them that life is better with them in it. You know, even lie to them. Even say, make shit up, but just keep saying positive things.
Yeah.
But don't, you know, absolutely lie like, oh yeah, there's a girl who's like asking about you and, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, don't do stuff like that. Because anything, you know, and they'll probably know that you're lying, but just hearing positive things, that's what they need. So if you know anyone who's like this, who, you know, has gone through all the usual stuff and has been failed by the system, especially men, most important thing is to actually be there for them, to talk to them, to listen to them, and not say, wow, I don't know what to tell you, because that's going to make them feel much worse. That's actually going to, in many ways, justify their reason to do it. If the one person that they're calling for help says, I don't know what to tell you, that kind of says, hey, maybe me committing suicide is a good thing. So
yeah, and I think it's always good to make people laugh when they're sad, you know, not about their situation, but telling them about other things that could possibly, you know, just because laughter like that, for me personally, it makes, you know, if I'm laughing while I'm crying, I start, you know, just getting just a little bit, you know, lighter. And, you know, it always makes me feel better when I try to just laugh at something that I find funny or someone else finds funny. And that always makes me feel better. And I try to make other people laugh.
And I love making other people laugh. It allows me to connect to them. If I can make someone laugh, then I feel like I have a way of talking to them. Which, if I can't make someone laugh, I actually start to feel very uncomfortable with them. And
yeah, I know.
Not necessarily a good way to approach things, but it's my way of approaching things. But so, yeah, I apologize for kind of going on a rant there at the end, but having been close so many times, I really wanted to get that out there about, you know, and, you know, bless the hearts of so many out there who have tried to help me, but, you know, I can't tell them what to say, because then all it is me telling myself something. You know, I need to hear it from someone else in their own words why it's important that I stay around. Now, I'm not suicidal anymore, well, the thought doesn't come to me as often anymore. It's actually a very rare thing, but it does every now and then because my situation is not improving enough that I don't think about, how much of a drain I am. But I'm in a much better place, so it's not a cause for concern anymore.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of people out there who have tried to help me out, especially my roommate who's, has opened his home to me. So that has helped out a drastic amount, having a very positive place to live. But right now it's not an issue, but you never stop being suicidal, So, but yeah, once again, I thank everyone who is out there who tried to help me, and your effort is noted because I'm still here. But at the same time, there could have been a better approach rather than telling me how it affects you than focusing on me. So, I mean, and maybe it sounds a bit selfish, but when someone is calling you to talk about their suicide, it's important to talk about them. So, I think that's going to do it for us today. I thank everyone for coming out. I thank you, Sato Christ, for explaining that American football is a hand egg. That's good to know. Sorry, I'm just kind of a little shaken up by all of that talk. So I don't have the description filled out just yet. I'm going to do it right after this video, but go ahead and check out the articles that we did today. Follow me on Twitter and give me a shout out there. Feel free to subscribe to the video down below. Give a thumbs up if you like the video. Share it amongst your friends. A lot of heavy topics today, but very important stuff. Also, check out my friend Modern Medusa. I'm trying to get her to do more videos. I've gotten my whip out on do more.
I should be doing one today after this.
So she said.
But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and subscribe to me, and you can follow me on Twitter at Vanessa with Cheese or Vanessa W Cheese.
Vanessa Cheese.
Yeah, my next video will be fondue fun. Not really. That sounds sexy though.
I don't know. I've used fondue to seduce girls before. And it's a great way to know how, like the girl that I did it for, I mean, I didn't expect anything to happen. I was just doing fondue for her, and then she took some cheese and put it on her chest. I'm like, oh, I know where this is going.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
I've also done chocolate fondue as well. But yes, check out my friend Modern Medusa. I think she's going to be a big star by this time next year, so getting on early with her. Also, check out my Patreon. I've changed things up a little bit. I am putting more focus on getting medical treatment now that I have this camera. I don't think I mean, I would like a newer computer because, I mean, it is pretty old, but it's doing well for me right now, so it's not much as much of a need. But I definitely need help with medical costs. Procedure I want, I have to pay out of pocket. Insurance won't cover it, but it could be the answer either to getting on disability or getting better. So I am raising money for that. If you're not comfortable doing Patreon, perfectly understandable. I do have a book that you can purchase. That link should be down below. First book is absolutely free. Download it, read it. If you like it, give me a review. I like the honest reviews. If you really like it, consider buying the next book after that. It's only $2.99. Very affordable. Get it, read it. It's about knights in the Middle Ages, fighting vampires, and Mercedes is in it. to name drop a little bit. So that's going to do it for me. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Vanessa?
No, I guess not. Just you know, subscribe. You know, check out my art page, Vanessa's Custom Art, all that cool stuff.
All right. So
and thank you for joining.
Well, thank you for doing another show with me. Last week was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So feel free to come back anytime because I like when beautiful women are on my channel.
Yeah, I mean, I'm as long as I have Mondays off, we might as well do one every week.
So it will now be called the Mad Cat and Modern Medusa Show.
Hell yeah.
All right, so maybe we'll do it next week if everyone would like that, because I know I would. Anyways, that's going to do it for us today. This is Mad Cat signing out.